Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, guys. Welcome back to another rebuttal video from Islam God Answers. So, this is a rebuttal video that I just could not pass up, guys. I cannot pass up rebutting this because Testify issues a challenge to me. Well, not to me directly, but to Muslims. And he issues it about his own Bible. So, I'm going to show. We're going to get right into it, okay? This might be a little bit of a longer rebuttal just because of the biblical passages. But, inshallah, you guys will find it beneficial if anyone actually brings up this argument. We're going to be looking at lexical sources, going to be examining certain passages in the Tanakh. Let's see if Testify likes this or not. So, the first thing we're going to do is check if this is... It is. Okay, perfect. It's not. Alright, we're going to refresh this and we're just going to let it play, inshallah. So let's get with the rebuttal. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Here's a strange one straight from Sahih al-Bukhari. Muhammad, the messenger of Allah, is bewitched. And not just any kind of magic, this spell made him think that he had done things like, let's just say being intimate with his wives when he actually hadn't. That's right, the Prophet of Islam, under the influence of magic, couldn't even tell if he had had sex or not. Later, two men, or angels, reveal that the spell was cast using a comb and hair, hidden in a well with water so gross that it looked like a devil's brew. After retrieving the items, Muhammad says that Allah cured him, case closed. But wait, how does this make any theological sense?
So before Testify gets to explaining this argument, there's a couple of things that we need to take a note of here. First of all, yes, the Prophet ﷺ was bewitched by a Jew. However, all the spell did was make him think he was having relations with his wife when he wasn't. This was just a minor inconvenience for the Prophet ﷺ. It didn't affect how he was the head of state for the Muslims, and it certainly didn't affect how he conducted with business, and it most certainly did not affect, or it does not count towards his untrustworthiness of revelation because he received revelation prior to this. Right? Nextly, Testify concedes that the hadith literature states that the Prophet ﷺ was cured. But how can a false prophet have verses revealed to him that would cure him? What's the point of that? So that actually proves that he is a true prophet and not a false prophet. In a sense, this is not an actual argument. Testify saying that because the Prophet ﷺ is bewitched, it makes no sense. But what's the issue here? I'm struggling to see why it makes sense. Maybe Testify will elaborate on this, but Testify can continue. Inshallah. Let's keep going.
No biblical prophet was ever bewitched. Isn't Muhammad supposed to be Allah's most important messenger, protected and rightly guided? Muslims, why do you trust this guy? Here's a strange one straight.
We trust this guy because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one true God, the God of me and you and I, the God of Muhammad, and the God of the entire world, sent down passages that are recited by Muslims every single day, morning and evening, to protect them against black magic and other such forms of sihr, i.e. magic or anything that has to do with the unseen or witchcraft. And we trust him because he was cured by that same one true God, by those same verses that we Muslims recite to be cured of witchcraft, or be cured of, or be protected from black magic. Anyway, Testify, you made a claim, buddy, and I want to get right with you on that claim. But first, let's close this because I don't want this YouTube window open. So Testify, you made a claim, and I want to get to you on that claim. I want to get with you. So let's get with you. What you should be seeing on your screens at this moment is a passage from the Tanakh, and it is 1 Samuel chapter number 28. So, a couple of things to note here. Let's read the couple verses starting from verse 3. It says, Now Samuel was dead, and all Israel had mourned for him and buried him in his own town of Ramah. Saul had expelled the mediums and spiritists from the land. The Philistines assembled, and Saul came in Israel. Okay, Let's go verse 6. Or verse 7. Verse 6. He inquired of the Lord, but the Lord did not answer him by dreams or Urim or prophets. Saul then said to his attendants, "Find me a woman who is a medium, so I may go and inquire of her. There is one in Endor," they said. So Saul disguised himself, verse 8, putting on their clothes, and at night he and 2 men went to the woman. "Consult a spirit for me," he said, "and bring up for me the one I name." But the woman said to him, "Surely you know what Saul has done. He has cut off the mediums and spiritists from the land. Why have you set a trap for my life to bring about my death?" Okay, so from these couple of verses, we understand that Saul is trying to bring up Samuel's spirit because God had not sent him any revelation, any prophets. But there's a couple of words that we need to define. The first should be read on your screens. It is of. Alright. This should be on your screen right now. So the word of is used here. I'll show you. See? Right there. 1 Samuel chapter 28 is where it's used. So going back up to its definition, we understand. Okay, going back to its definition. What's the definition that New American Standard Old Testament Lexicon gives? Necromancer. Necromancer, one who evokes the dead. This is one of the definitions. Practice of necromancy. And then one that has a familiar spirit. So basically, this means a necromancer. Someone who is practicing spiritism, or someone who is doing necromancy, which is a form of witchcraft. Alright? Okay. Next word. The word Yadonai. And again, I'm going to show you. It's used in 1 Samuel 28 verse 3 on your screens, the word Yadonai, meaning spiritist. So now if we go back up to the definition, what's the lexicon say about this word? It says, spiritus, and spiritus is how it's used, right? A knower, one who has a familiar spirit. A familiar spirit, soothsayer, necromancer. Okay, so basically a necromancer is being described here. Alright? Now we can keep reading the passage, but before we do that, there's also another word that is here in verse 8. Consult a spirit for me, he said. What's the word for consult? Well, the word is kesem. Now, kesem, I'm going to show you. That's used here. Let's see, 1 Samuel chapter 6 verse 2 and 1 Samuel 28 verse 8. It's used in those places. Now, going back to the definition of the word, it is to practice divination of diviners of the nations, of false prophets of Israel. It's prohibited. So to practice divination, right? So she's basically practicing divination or witchcraft on the spirit. All right. Now, why is this important? Let's keep reading the passage. Saul swore to her by the Lord, "As surely as the Lord lives, you will not be punished for this." Then the woman asked, Who shall I bring up for you? "Bring up Samuel," he said. When the woman saw Samuel, he cried at the top of her voice and said to Saul, "Why have you deceived me? You are Saul." The king said to her, "Don't be afraid. What do you see?" The woman said, "I see a ghostly figure coming out of the earth." "What does he look like?" he asked. "An old man wearing a robe is coming up." Then Saul knew it was Samuel, and he bowed down with his face to the ground. Okay, now, this is very important, because Samuel has just been raised up, and we established that the person doing the raising is a witch. She is practicing necromancy. She's practicing witchcraft to raise Samuel. So Samuel, testify, is under bewitchment. Now, why are we continuing to read this passage? Because this is very profound, and it absolutely annihilates Testify's point. Because what does Samuel say? Samuel says to Saul, "Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up? I am in great distress," Saul said. "The Philistines, what does he say? The Philistines are fighting against me, and God has departed from me. He no longer answers me either by prophets or by dreams. So I have come here for you to tell me what to do." Samuel said, "Why do you consult me now that the Lord has departed from you and become your enemy?" Okay? "The Lord has done what he predicted through me. The Lord has torn your kingdom out of your hands and gives it to one of your neighbors, to David. Because you did not obey the Lord or carry out his fierce wrath against the Amalekites, the Lord has done this to you. Today. The Lord will deliver both Israel and you into the hands of the Philistines. And tomorrow you and your sons will be with me. The Lord will also give the army of Israel into the hands of the Philistines." So now, what's the conclusion here? 1. Samuel was being bewitched. He was under a bewitchment because the lady was practicing witchcraft to get him. So the spirit of Samuel was still bewitched. She was bewitched. He was bewitched. So the spirit of Samuel was bewitched. But he still gave a true prophecy that ended up coming true, because in the battle, Saul and his sons did end up actually passing away, and the kingdom was, of course, given to Prophet David. Peace and blessings be upon him. So, Samuel, though bewitched, is still able to give true revelation and a true prophecy which came true despite being bewitched. Alright, now I have one more for you because, of course, I never run out. This verse right here that's on your screen. Satan rose up against Israel and incited David to take a census of Israel. So, what does this word mean? Well, as you can see from your screens right now, the word suit, and I always want to show that it's actually used here. So we're going to go to 1 Chronicles. Yeah, see? 1 Chronicles 21:1, right there. So let's go back to the definition. The definition is to incite, allure, instigate, entice. Okay? To incite, to request, to lure, to instigate. Okay? So here we have Satan enticing David to commit the Israel census. So wouldn't that mean that Satan enticed, i.e., worked magic on David so that he would take the census? There you go, Testify. Biblical prophets can be bewitched, and they still can give genuine revelations from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The bewitchment does not affect their revelation, and on top of that, as mentioned by you earlier, the Prophet ﷺ was cured. That's it, folks. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.